Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon, where we take a look at every classic Doctor Who story, one episode at a time. And today, on the 16th of October 2017, we start the second Doctor story with the Highlanders, which is a pure historical story, and I believe the real final of the pure historicals, at least on television outside of Black Orchid, which is way down the line. And episode 1, it's already a big step down from the power of the Daleks. We have had, a 10 out of 10 story for the last one, which has kind of spoiled the start of this era, just because we're starting Patrick Troughton off, and the story itself isn't the best. It's okay. It's an okay start. I didn't hate anything about it. It was pretty good, but while that it is a good opener, it has quite a few problems, mainly for the fact that it is pretty kind of dull start for the most part. You have everything just sort of going as it is, and you don't have much really to go on. Except with, just that we're starting here, and this is how it's gonna go. Like, that's really all we're starting with, and it isn't very interesting. It's okay. That's really it. All I have to say. It's an okay start. You have the Doctor and company arriving in Scotland, and starting in Scotland, and everything is and you just sort of have this start that basically with the Doctor and company arriving, getting put in, it's pretty good. The Doctor decides he's gonna put on a German accent just to call himself the Dr. Von Wehr, basically saying he's a German doctor coming to basically, and he's like, right, I need to make sure that basically partially he's making sure, like, yeah, I am, taken care of, and it's a pretty good. It's a pretty good opening. There just isn't much really to say. It exists. It doesn't exist. It's kind of a dull start as things just sort of kick off for the story. Outside of the whole Dr. Von Wehr thing, nothing else is really sort of worth, I guess you could say, the comedy, maybe? That might be the word that I'm looking for. But, yeah. So, there's that. And that's really all that I have to say. So, we're gonna get so I'm going to have to say, I'm going to give The Highlanders Episode 1 a 7 out of 10 and call it a day. It is the 17th of October 2017, and I just finished watching Episode 2 of The Highlanders. And this episode has an extreme improvement over episode 1 in many, many regards. Mainly in the fact that it is just plain out more enjoyable. Mainly because each of the main characters and quite a few of the side characters get to actually sort of have found their footing in this, and we actually have, we have quite a bit to do. My only complaint would be is that while I enjoy what Patrick Troughton is doing with the Doctor, it's very erratic. He seems to be changing his portrayal at the dime of a hat, and nothing seems to be sort of settled down. There is a little bit of conniving there that's been in all of his episodes up to this point, especially in this one, but this one seems to go almost for a more pantomime-y comedy role. Like, he's taking it seriously, but almost going over the top with it, which might be a little bad, because, I mean, Hartnell rarely ever went over the top. He played for comedy, yes, but never really went over the top, which might be an issue. But in this episode, this is really an episode where Polly gets to shine. Like, the last episode ends with her falling into an animal trap, set by the titular Highlanders with another, and she accidentally pulls Kirsty down with her, and then she tricks a redcoat to fall down with her. And basically they mug him, and it is hilarious. Like, it is played for laughs, and it's great. You have, like, this whole, oh, you wouldn't want to say that you were beaten by 2 girls now, would you? It's this lovely sort of like, oh, how funny. You think, it's like, you wouldn't, no, that doesn't happen. You can't be beaten by 2 girls, even though we're 2 girls and we just beat you. Yeah, it's sort of like that, and it is hilarious the way that they do it. Annika Wills gives a stunning performance as Polly in this episode, and her portions of the story are hilarious. And I mean, the guy that she gets to go in is Admiral Finch, who then has to try to get his men to pull him out by promising them beer, except Polly stole all his money, so he has no idea what he's doing. And then the rest of the story, the episode really focuses on the Doctor, Ben, and other Highlanders. Basically, they're on this ship, and they're going to become slaves. It's almost, basically, this episode feels what the Smugglers should have been, a bit more high-rolling with a little comedy. Like, the Doctor, he says, he keeps being his weird Germany accent thing, and is like, oh, but I can tell the plot to kill everybody, and then he's like, oh, there wasn't a plot, no, I just know we're your big enemies, and we just gotta split the £30,000 reward, which is hilarious, leading to the scene which I'm using as a screen cap, where he takes, he again, pretending to be a doctor, he gets Solicitor Grey under his wing, ties him up, locks him in the cupboard. His assistant comes in, he tells his assistant, you've been reading too much, you need to close your eyes. And then he's like, do you suffer from headaches? No. And then slams his head into the table. And then I say, do you suffer from headaches? No. Slams his head into the table again. Do you suffer from headaches? Yes. And it's like, alright, you're staying here, close your eyes, you're resting, that's it. Then he just goes off and steals some lady's clothes and dresses in drag, which is apparently as convincing enough so that Ben doesn't recognize him, which is kind of funny because, well, you really think Ben should recognize the Doctor in drag. Like, it's kind of a funny thing, and that's really where the episode ends. That's the episode ends basically with threat like, and if you don't get off, if you basically with this weird threat of right, that's also a problem. The episode just sort of ends like the cliffhanger isn't very good. It's like, yeah, the only way you're getting off this boat is by drowning. Such a threat. We see someone drown, but it doesn't really. It's mainly because I think the music is underwhelming. Like, you should have had maybe some sort of a dramatic strings, give us a sense that things are going by. But other than that, I'm going to give the Highlanders episode 2 a 9 out of 10 because it is miles ahead of episode 1. It is the 18th of October 2017, and I just finished watching the Highlanders episode 3, and we've taken another turn down for the weaker for this story as episode 3 drags on quite a bit. It's not necessarily bad, but it is very, very much draggy. It doesn't really have too much of a plot. A lot of it's more loose, connected scenes, trying to get the plot forward, mainly having quite a few scenes on the ship. Really, just the scenes on the ship are really there just so we can have a cliffhanger. They could easily be cut out, and we could be left with the Doctor, Polly, and Kirsty's story while Ben and Jamie are on a ship, and it's quite sad in a way, because you really think Ben could have more to do than just sort of be on the ship and, not do much. It really is kind of sad. There's some enjoyment, of course, to be had as they're given contracts to become slaves, or they get to hang. And Ben pulls basically somebody, basically like, oh, I'll sign, yeah, I'll sign. He takes one and rips it up, and it's probably a really good scene to watch, especially when he gets knocked unconscious. But it's a very visual scene, and you really can't have too much to be done with the telesnap reconstruction as it is. You have to let everything sort of work as again, it's just a recon, so we don't have too much really to go by. Really, it's the Doctor being manipulative. That you get a lot of enjoyment. Like, he pulls a gun on a character, and it's great. Like, he steals a bunch of muskets, even though it's not loaded. He's very much just trying his hardest to basically be, sort of the hero, and it's really, really enjoyable. But other than that, the plot really doesn't do much. You have and also Polly and Kirsty, again, sort of also getting their moments to shine. They sort of try to seduce Algernon Finch into giving them what they want, like, oh, we won't hurt you. And he's obviously scared of them, and that's really the only enjoyment to be had. I mean, a lot of the rest is just dull. And again, the Doctor, he's acting radically different from episode to episode. He really needs to calm down a little bit and just sort of get into I guess, his own little portrayal. So I think I'm going to give the Highlanders episode 3 a 5 out of 10, because it is very an average episode. It's like meh. That's really all I have to say. It's just sort of meh. It is now the 23rd of October 2017. I do apologize again for the gap in dates, but I just finished watching the Highlanders episode 4, and I have to say that it is not any better or any worse than the previous episode. It's just the conclusion. We have Ben actually meeting up with the Doctor and Polly again, being mainly the driving force for this portion of the story. They meet up again, and they get together. They make a plan with Jamie to basically their plan is, we need to find a way to get everything to be working again and not have to worry too much about we just need to get everyone away. You have the Doctor again bringing back the stuff with well, basically, bringing back his German persona. I mean, like, yeah, no, I can lead you to the Scots, which has basically been his, sort of, I don't know how to describe it. Sort of his game for the entire story. He's been like, right, yeah, I'll lead you to the Highlanders, and no one really believes him. And it's just sort of that ending that sort of keeps everything going. It just doesn't work really well, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of dull. You'd have some pretty good stuff with you have some pretty good stuff with Doctor and company, with Polly just using Algernon Finch basically to get Solicitor Gray captured, which is almost a bit too wrap-up-y. too much of just a wrap, so much of an easy wrap-up. Before, really anything really decides to end, just sort of like, let's say, yeah, we're just going to quickly wrap this up like this. And I don't think that works very well. And really the big thing is that Jamie is now going to be a new companion, which, is fine. It's just one of those things that's like, yeah, it's fine. He's going to be the new companion, and we're going to go on for other adventures. It really just sort of ends with a whimper instead of a bang. You don't get a good, solid conclusion that you really should be getting in something like this. It just makes you want more for the story. Like, it could have been written a lot better. Probably episodes 3 and 4 could have been combined. So I'm going to give the Highlanders episode 4 a 5 out of 10. That, of course, concludes the Highlanders, so we can add up all the scores to give the story the final score of the Highlanders at 6.5 out of 10. Thank everybody for watching this episode of the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon, and we will be return, hopefully without another hiatus, in The Underwater Menace.